The key is to establish the key to streaming is to establish your rock bottom really early, and then that way, no matter what mistake you make, it just can never be worse than casting Time Warp targeting your opponent. Oof, Brawl so good. My opponent not having a third land would be good. We did that once and still won. Wait, did we win that game? I can't even remember. It's been so... I've really, really repressed it. Wait, they didn't want to play a land? They wanted divisions instead? Weird. Probably dead. So we remand this, we're dead to the Past in Flames in their hand. Maybe I was supposed to remand the first ritual. If we put both rituals in the graveyard, though, think we can remand the Past in Flames if they have nothing. Yeah, I mean, obviously drawing Force of Negation or Path, like, is a factor. Yeah, they shouldn't have gotten Past in Flames in their pile because they just have a Past in Flames in their hand. I did kind of figure that they would because it's just like so ingrained. But if they have a Remand or another ritual, I think we lose. Yeah, but they already had one in their hand, so I think this was wrong. We can draw a Path or a Force. If they don't have Remand, they have Remand. Dead, 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 dead. So I think I went Veil of Summer is good, of course. That counters Gifts Ungiven. Talesyn is not good against Storm. Please, hopefully I've explained it enough times by now. I mean, it is good against Empty the Warrens if they go in on Empty, but it's not good against Grapeshot. I think Ontonice is probably something I want a bit more than Path. I think we could maybe play a split of 3 Ontonice, 2 Path, 2 Skyclave Apparition. Maybe Skyclave Apparition is just not a good answer. I don't think Venser's that good either. It's actually like maybe the worst Venser matchup. Like 3 Gust. I kind of am liking Gust more and more every time I play this matchup. Maybe we actually want to go down to just 2 Ephemerate because we've cut 4 walls or 3 walls, 2 Skyclave and the Venser. Like Ephemerate's has lost a lot of stock, but we still probably want a couple of copies. More paths. No, I think Ontonice is a better answer because like ramping your Storm opponent is a big cost. Being instant speed is relevant, but ramping your opponent is also very relevant. And I would much rather cast Ontonice on turn 2 than Path to Exile. And the later the game goes, like the less relevant removing the mana creature is. Why Veil? It counters Gifts Ungiven. And they also play counter spells, but like it is just 1 mana. It counters Gifts Ungiven and draws a card, and Gifts is a huge part of their deck. Veil is good against Storm. I'm going to keep this. I think I'll put back basic Plains and get a Temple Garden with the Strand. Could have maybe put back a Veil. I don't think maybe we should just make a command about the whole thing, but like if your opponent is comboing off, Talesending their Grapeshot is not going to win you the game. It is like maybe more interesting on the play if your opponent's a fetch land mana base and plays Burl. But like, and it also counters the Empty the Warrens trigger, which is relevant. But there's a lot to dislike about it. Yeah, the Green-White X toolbox playing Tribal Flames is interesting, I agree. Well,
what's up?
Harder to fight this fight with a Brawl out there. Veil 4 3 months in a row. Hope you're having a good day today. Appreciate you. I guess this Ice-Fang is a blue card to pitch to Force. Or just something to play into turn, but pretty unlikely our opponent can combo off through a Veil and a Force. Oh no, I said Temple Garden, I got Breeding Pool. I don't know how I just now realized. Sorry. Veil 4 and that Blum, a magic guy. Welcome to both of you guys. I think I did not want to tap out of green because then if they can cast gifts in response. But maybe that logic isn't good. Wouldn't be the first time. It's really good if they play end of turn gifts and we get to veil it though. No play from them. You missed just Sky Lotus. I think we had to give it a break, give it a breather. But we'll be playing it again. Maybe we'll play it some more tomorrow. It was also good for myself to give myself a breather, since a lot of times I feel that if I play a deck too much, I can have a hard time figuring out how I need to be improving it. So we should be good if they... them casting Grapeshot means they're either on Past in Flames or empty, but it's just like way more likely to be empty with like the Past in Flames being, or the Grapeshot being cast right now. But we really had no recourse to this. So they get 10 goblins. I'm going to play an Ice-Fang, I guess. I see, like, maybe if I want to force after I get the draw. This is probably not good. Yeah, because... Why... I'm confused. Their hand is so good. Hand is so good. To beat this, we're going to need to find Uro and or Cryptic Command. I guess. Right on time. Yeah, I guess we're dead. Stinks. Storm has really been impressing me lately. We do have Cryptic Command in our hand. We have literally Cryptic Command, aka Veil of Summer. Who says we've caught him in the middle of a bad brew session, so looking forward to seeing what the brew is. Do I play the Mana Trader series? I often like find myself like wishing I had spent the time to qualify for it, but I don't know. It's like usually when I like between like testing for the stream and actually streaming leagues, which I think is better content than streaming the qualifiers for the Mana Traders, I don't usually find myself with the energy to try to qualify. So they missed their second land drop. This is probably an Electro Dominance brew. I think, you know, Electro Dominance, as we're told. I've seen Spires playing a lot of it. Well, maybe not if he hyped it up a bit. After the challenge, will I make any changes to Just Sky Lotus? Yeah, there's a few I'm thinking about. I want some more of the MDFCs. And I resent having to say that because I hate saying MDFC. I think they should just be called spell lands. But I like the red one's really interesting because I feel like the deck wants more removal, and like maybe the red MDFC is just really good in the deck. Can make a ton of mana. You obviously want to hit your land drops. This is cool. Burning Inquiry. Okay, let me on F6, and I've drawn Force of Negation, I guess. They can Inquiry again. I'm just going to Force. Then I just sack the Underworld Breach. That was cool. Don't really know exactly what's happening, but it was cool. Like it's cool that Burning Inquiry like fills up the graveyard for your breach. I have deemed us lame. Spider Space out here doing cool stuff. Too real. Too real. Saying the hard truths. MTGO user is Spider Space. Haggle discarding Stinkweed Imp. And not dredging. So they're just like all in on Underworld Breach. It's kind of cool. So I see Burning Inquiry is going to dredge your Imp to give you a lot of fuel for your Breach. That's pretty cool. See if they have a removal spells in their deck. Looks like maybe they do, maybe they don't. Probably not. Cool. Gust seems good. They probably bring in like a bunch of disputes, so maybe Veil of Summer will be good as well. Skyclave Apparition only stops Underworld Breach if you have an Ephemerate and an Underworld and a Apparition already in play, so I'm like not that into it. Maybe play a Tail's End. Kind of down for a Miser's Tail's End. Maybe better just like play a wall to have a density of cantrip creatures, but just see what happens. That is one of the biggest strengths of playing a brew, of course, is your opponents don't know how to sideboard against you. And so, you know, probably the best deck you can ever bring to a tournament is a brand new brew that's really good. Because people don't know how to play against it. And also if your deck is like as high at power level as all the other decks in the field, but your opponents just don't know how to play against it, then that's just the sweet spot, and kind of the spot I always strive to be in. Is Esther vacuuming? I think she is. I could have said Aspire to be in. Well, I could have said Aspire to be in, and that's something a streamer would have said. But I'm really trying to hammer this home, and I feel like you guys aren't getting it. I'm not a streamer. I'm MTGO user, Aspiring Spike. We did win game 1. Opponent's playing a very spicy brew. Got the pretty haggles. Having a prettier version of card, however, sadly doesn't make it better. Oh, you know what? I bet our opponent has Arc-like Phoenix in their deck. Ritual Veil, Merchant Inquiry. Yeah, I think our opponent's playing Phoenix. Have I considered Teferi, Time Raveler, and Just Sky Lotus? Yeah, we actually played... it was in the list for a while. It was in the main board for a little bit, and... I end up moving into the sideboard, but the problem with Teferi is like gold cards in general just don't play very well with Lotus Field. Or sorry, 3 mana or less gold cards play poorly with Lotus Field. Like just Lotus Field doesn't tap for them, and you have just like an extra floating when you do cast it off of a Lotus Field. So I'm just kind of off of it, and I'm playing Narset instead. But I definitely consider Teferi. Be crazy if I didn't, right? It's not super common someone asks me if I've considered a card for a deck and I haven't considered it. Happens sometimes. But if it's like if it's like a staple of Modern, you know, like Teferi, I've definitely considered it. Yeah, I mean, Teferi is great. It just is... I did play with it, but it felt like the worst card in the deck, and I was pretty happy that was the case. Because I don't really like playing with Teferi very much. But it did genuinely feel like the worst card in the deck when I was playing with it. Let a Ritual resolve, I think. Have I considered becoming a streamer MTGO user? It's an interesting thought. Probably just let this go and then gust the Ritual. Or actually, let's Ephemerate the Skyclave first. Well, maybe not, because we might still like want to gust the Ritual anyways. They're casting Burning Inquiry from their hand. It's fine. I think we should let Spire Space show us how he wins. I can just kind of tell you, like, they have Dredgers to dredge out Graveshot and Arclight Phoenix. And if that's not how Spider Space is winning, that's probably how he should be winning. It is also possible the answer to how Spider wins with this deck is You know, this Spider says he's just doing a new brew, so. But the answer is possibly this deck just isn't very good. You know what I mean? Wins? Oh, I was probably supposed to hold that for Mystic Sanctuary, so we could like just Mystic Sanctuary back at Gust this turn.
Can you put this necklace on me?
Yeah.
Can you put it on?
Maybe.
It's so tiny, I know.
Yeah, I was pretty confident when I said yes, and now I'm less confident.
It's so tiny. Yeah. Can you put it on the middle hook? The middle loop.
I see.
There's 3.
I see 2 loops.
Well, the third one's on the very end of the thing, so second loop. I know. Imagine me trying to do it with these nails, like.
You know how shaky my hands are.
Okay. If you can't get.
I'm gonna get it.
Okay. Any day now. You got it.
Let's give Spider a chance to win. Probably winning with Thassa's Oracle. That's not how I'd build it. I would just play like 2 Grape Shots, 4 Arc like Phoenixes. Yeah, I mean, maybe you play an Oracle too. I just feel like Grape Shot's better than Oracle in this kind of deck. Maybe I'm wrong. I can't play the Witness this turn. Arclight Phoenix seems terrible. Well, I think the idea is like when you're going off with Underworld Breach, it honestly doesn't seem like you're gonna be able to just flip your deck every single time. But if you just flip like a couple Phoenixes, you get like a decent bit of value off of your combo turns. And flipping Phoenixes also means you don't have to burn them out for as much if you like Phoenix for a bit a turn, you know. Maybe I'm wrong. I probably will never find out. Bye, sweetheart. Have a good day. Yeah, they could maybe be playing Hollow Ones and Phoenixes. It's a possibility. I mean, Underworld Breach is a super powerful card in Modern, and one that is definitely underplayed, in my opinion. Yeah, I think we let this go and ephemerate the Breach again. But yeah, but Breach is like definitely an underplayed card in Modern. And I think it's really good in like the Twiddle Storm deck. I'm not sure that Burning Inquiry is the card to pair with it. I get it. Stinkweed, I just like, it feels like you have just so much air with these inquiries and merchants and Stinkweed Imps. Is it crazy to play Chronic Flooding? Maybe. Could play Pact of Negation. Hit it with the GGs. GG's MTGO user Spider Space. Cool deck. Hope that you keep tuning it. If you want to enlighten us, please do. But if you want to keep it spicy and secret, I understand. That's his Oracle. Yeah, that's what chat was saying. Maybe I'm just wrong. I was thinking that like, if you just play Phoenix and Grape Shot, you don't have to actually go through your entire deck. You can just kind of have like you can just kind of go through like 20 cards and like burn them for some and hit them with phoenixes and like maybe just bring back the phoenixes again next turn. Just a thought. I'll discard Uro, I think. I think it's a good discard here. Yeah, I'm not sure if hollow ones sound good to me, but the phoenixes do at least. Yeah, I also kind of I feel like I keep saying this, and like any good MTGO user, I'm just gonna say the same things over and over again. But I do feel like Breach is underplayed, and I think it's cool that Spider's trying to tweak it. What if Phoenixes are in the bottom half of your deck? Well, I mean, you don't need the Phoenixes to combo necessarily. I think it's kind of the idea. But it's also like what if you just get to like bring back 2 Phoenixes and then like double Grape Shot, like ritual with the Reach and then Grape Shot twice and kill them. Feels like you just don't have like you only have to deal 20 damage to your opponent, you know? You don't always have to have super convoluted combos to actually win. People have suggested Runaway Steamkin. Yeah, Steamkin's probably sick if it lives, but it probably never lives. Yeah, I'm happy to take a look at it, Spider. I'm also like, I'm not. The dredgers probably are necessary. I like the revivals. Maybe not. Maybe you don't need the dredgers. How would I build a breach deck? I don't know. It does seem like there's something there. I would build it with Phoenix if I was gonna do like if I was already playing Burning Inquiry, Manamorphose, and the rituals. I would play Phoenix, I think, and just kind of say I don't need to always combo off every single game for my deck to function. Man, it's pretty scary to go for Ephemerate into this Blood Crypt. So I guess I won't, huh? Yeah, I don't. I know that you can't go infinite without dredgers. Just like it feels like having dredgers in your deck just makes your deck so not resilient, you know. And I would like to see like the deck to be more resilient. And I know that's kind of an abstract concept, I suppose. But I guess it's not really. But like just like I don't think. I would probably just not build it with the plan of going infinite at all. I would probably build it to just like have a couple Grape Shots, have maybe you play Lightning Bolts, maybe you play both Underworld Breach and Pyromancer's Ascension and Arc-like Phoenix, and then all of a sudden you have a deck that can burn your opponent for a lot and is incredibly resilient to creature-based removal. And like that's kind of your game plan. And then you also like still just get to deal your opponent 20 a lot of the time. Because I found just like Pyromancer's Ascension plus Arc-like Phoenix, you just get to deal 20 like pretty often. That's how I'd start. I'm not saying it's better than your version. That's just like that would be my approach. What would I play in Pioneer? If I had to play Pioneer right now, I would play the Mono Green Planeswalkers list that I won the PTQ with a few weeks ago now, and I probably would just not change a single card, and then I'd play Modern after I'm done having my fun. How about Aria of Flame? I liked Aria of the Flame as a sideboard card when I played lists like this in the past. You know, I played a deck that's kind of a similar idea, at least a while ago. This was, you know, over a year ago now. This was after the Faithless Looting ban. Trying to make Phoenix playable, and I played Phoenix, and I 5-0'd with this deck a bunch at the time. But, you know, it was like mostly a Pyromancer's Ascension deck, and the reality was like you didn't need to play any real Storm cards if you just have 4 Bolt and 4 Phoenix. This deck is really good at dealing like 26 damage on turn, like the turn when you untap with Pyromancer's Ascension, like turn 4 usually. And then Brawl also overlaps pretty well with Manamorphose and Remand and Chart a Course and Arclight Phoenix. And so like maybe that's there's something maybe there. Whatever happened to the Breach Grinding Station ideas? I don't think that they were very good because they were just soft to discard spells, counter spells, creature removal spells, artifact hate, and graveyard hate, and storm hate. Just like they were just kind of soft to every piece of interaction that exists in Modern, and that's not usually a very good place to be for your combo decks. I don't think main deck Force of Negation works. Yeah, probably not in the Underworld Breach version, but I liked it in this list. Like you got to sometimes you got to Brawl, and then on their turn they try to kill your Brawl, and then you'd Force and you'd loot away your Phoenix. It's pretty sick. Haha, Mystic Gate to fix our Mystic Gate Uro anti-synergy. Draw a land, we get to also play a wall. Pretty nice to just at least have the Ice-Fang in play though for some like Liliana Edict protection. Morphos to Dread is probably the most degenerate idea I've had sometime. It's pretty sweet. The list is definitely spicy as hell, Spider, and there's certainly pride to be had in that. I can't Mystic Sanctuary here. Do I want a third green source? I don't really think we need one. Uro just blocks Hazoret. That's so embarrassing. Uro just blocks Hazoret. Jeez. Also, like, what if Uro was just a 4/4? I've heard people complain about Uro like once or twice in my life. Like I've heard some people don't like this card, and there's been like a lot of suggestions on things that could be different with Uro to like make it be balanced. But like, what if Uro was just like a 4/4? You know. Excuse me. Yeah, it's like I think that Uro should like not just this gain a life part shouldn't be on the card. And it would be like both mirroring Kroxa pretty well at that point because you don't always get to put a land into play in the same way Kroxa doesn't always make your opponent lose 3 life. Like why does Uro do 3 things and Kroxa does 2 things? It's so frustrating. Like Uro always does 3 or can always do 3 if you have the land to put into play. And Kroxa sometimes does 2. I don't know. I don't get it. But also, like, why is it a 6/6? I know that it's green, but still. It tails into Hazoret. Path is pretty good if they're on Skelementals, and I kind of imagine that they are. Oh. Yeah, I imagine that they are. Gust is probably good too. Maybe we'll play like no Remand, 3 Gust, only 2 Path. Yeah, Titans have 6 power. Yeah. But like if there wasn't like that prerequisite and you wanted to balance Uro, and the only thing you were going to change were its stats, I feel like it should be a 4/4. But you are right, like it's a 6/6 because Titans are 6/6s. Which I'm usually all for that if it's balanced. Kroxa dodges ECD. That's actually a really good point. I really like ECD. It's not modern playable, I think, but I like it a lot. Yeah, and like, if Omnath is gonna draw a card, why isn't it like on the 4th land you play? Why? I feel like that would be way more reasonable. So we need Deathrite, Shaman, and Modern to fix Uro. You know what? Nice discarding the island spike. So good at modern. Man, you're good at this game. That's why I'm just an MTGO user, guys. That's why I'm not a streamer. Don't do it, the Euro decks will just play it. Oh no, you're right. I wonder if like unbanning Deaththread Shaman and Legacy would help. Guess we're going to 5. Guess we're going to 4. Well, I mean, if the hand draws a land, it's actually kind of fine. We could put back Gust and Witness. No, we put back Ice-Fang and Witness. Yeah, I think we just like hope to draw a land and have like an okay hand. Yeah, I guess Deaththread Shaman would probably just go in all these degenerate decks, huh? Easy, baby. So do we get basic Island to try to play around Blood Moon, or to get Breeding Pool for better mana? I think that we are going to be able to play around Blood Moon pretty well. If we can draw a land and just play a Teferi and plus, or hold up Gust if we don't draw a land, so I'm going to get a Breeding Pool. And then hopefully we get to unmulligan with double Ephemerate on our Wall of Omens. Alright, I'm going to Ephemerate my Wall of Omens, hoping to find a blue source so I can hold up Aether Gust this turn. Maybe this was a bit too greedy. Maybe we just get Blood Mooned. But I feel like when you mold a 5 on the play and you miss a land drop, sometimes you just need to make the high upside play in order to win. Well, I think my opponent does not have a Fatal Push. Maybe they do. Do not kill. Oh, sorry. You will live. Wall of Omens, you're going to live. It's too soon. Too soon to say goodbye. Yes, aspiring spike. Forbid me now to die. I'll obey. I will try. I'm gonna start listening to that now. Spike to Broadway win. Yeah, well, since I'm not very committed to the streaming thing, I'm just an average MTGO user. Or just MTGO user. Maybe I'll just give it my best shot. Where's Esther with the duet? I think she left like a little bit ago. Bravo! Thanks a chest. Put on my best performance. If you really want a spell or a creature of yours to survive, the key is to sing to them, and then they will survive. The main phase, the Ephemerate, well, my opponent's tapped out. Beth Harmon was just a chess player, yeah. Chess aficionado, Beth Harmon. I'll keep the 1-mana Cryptic Command over the 4-mana one. Chess hobbyist, that's maybe better, yeah. They shocked their Blood Crypts. Maybe to leave up Soul Guide Lantern. They only have 1 card left. How did that happen? Yeah, I'll target the Witness. Just make them sack a Lantern, I think. Then I'll make them do it again, and what's nice about doing this now is this is still rebounding, and they're not gonna be able to break it up if they even if they sack the Lantern now, they need something else to break up this loop. And we get both Lanterns off the field without them being able to draw a card off the Lantern. Oh, I forgot I had a draw step. Didn't really matter. I cast everybody's favorite Magic card. Cryptic Command. Everybody likes Cryptic. And they've got one card. If it's a fetch land, they get to escape Uro. See if my opponent does have a way to break this up. Remember, this was a mull to 5, where our only land was basic plains. My opponent does not have a removal spell in their hand, so I'm just going to get back Veil now, I guess. And I think I'll discard Breeding Pool to Kroxa if they escape it. Maybe I was supposed to flicker the wall and draw a card instead of picking up Path. This probably doesn't really matter. I do like getting to flicker my Witness when it's clear my opponent doesn't have a removal spell. My opponent knows I have a Veil. I guess they just want to escape Kroxa. And I'll discard the Forest. I guess Forest is kind of nice if they get Blood Moon down. And we can just get more Veil of Summers. You need a Veil of Summer? I'll get you a Veil of Summer by 2 o'clock. Four basic swamps, wow. I mean, they are a Blood Moon deck. Just a few more than I was expecting. Again, doing this now because if they just won't be able to respond with any removal spells they draw. This is fine. Each player discards. They've got no cards left in their hands. Might as well cycle this. We're not quite in garbage time yet. Does kind of feel like we're getting there, though. Cool. 2-1 in this league. We went 3-2 earlier to 4-1. Finishing with another 4-1 would be like a pretty respectable 11-4 on the day. Playing against a Lurrus deck, definitely keeping this against Red-Black Scourge, where just like, oh, this is not Red-Black Scourge, which is the most common Lurrus deck. A Flooded Strand, Hallowed Fountain Lurrus deck. Ah, somebody testing out a Boggles Brew for me to play on Donation Deck Thursday, I see. Well, we'll see if it's good enough for me to play. They're not playing Geist of St. Traft. We're 1-0 against Boggles today. Spirit Mantle, wow. If they play a Spirit Mantle or the Daybreak Coronet, yeah, if they play Daybreak Coronet, we get to...
What's up? It's me, your friend Aspiring Spike.
We get to bounce the Spirit Mantle, then the Coronet also falls off. They instead play a Spirit Dancer. I think I'm going to Teferi bounce, so I'm not like giving them a land this turn. And next turn we can maybe go like Uro, Ephemerate Uro, and Path if we draw enough white, or maybe just Uro plus Path, the Dancer. EOT Impulse 5 months in a row, welcome back. Maybe one day Impulse will be modern legal and you'll... Oh, now they have a Daybreak. Well, they attack me too. Interesting. So we can go Uro, gain a bunch of life. Probably want to keep up Remand this turn if I don't draw another land. Just like keep up Remand instead of Ephemerate again. We could try to Ephemerate into an untapped land, but I think that's a bit greedy. Is Boggle secretly the best deck in the format? Maybe. They do have to deal with this in 2 turns. Or actually they have to deal with it this turn, because we can actually, if they don't attack it, we can just go Time Warp plus and then minus. So they kill it now. Acolyte 7 months in a row. MTG user Aspiring Spike. Thanks, Acolyte. That's me. MTGO user Aspiring Spike. Lockhart, for your consideration. Legacy Blue-Green Sacrifice. So $40 is the Dono Brew price. What do you mean by Blue-Green Sacrifice? Is Blue-Green Sacrifice any Uro deck in Legacy? Is that or do you have a more of an idea, Lockhart? So I guess we might as well go Explore. Put Explore on top. It's really this doesn't do much, but actually just put a couple lands into play, which is not powerful. There's a list in the form. Okay, cool. Do you want me to tweak it too as part of the $40 option, or do we just play the list? It's basically a deck around sacrifice creatures, not an arrow. Yeah, like the one you donated for in the past. I'm definitely down to play that one again. It was fun last time. Leave the Time Warp in the graveyard. Now we have just a ton of mana. If we draw a Skyclave Apparition or Teferi, we get to make the Coronet fall off, but we also just get to gain a ton of life because Earl gains life for some reason that we're not entirely... Still haven't quite figured that one out. Maybe Earl just shouldn't have put a land into play. Maybe that was the play. They already played their land this turn, so... Oh, no, they didn't play, sorry. We could Ephemerate the Uro if they path again, maybe. They also get to kind of eat the Uro on defense with this Boggle. This Bogle. Why didn't you block an Ephemerate Spike? Because of Spirit Mantle, giving protection from creatures. Do you feel like there's probably a few people that don't know what Spirit Mantle does? So let's bounce the Arcane Flight and then attack with Uro. And when they block because they have Spirit Mantle, we can just bounce the Spirit Mantle and then kill the Boggle. If they fall into our trap. Which they didn't. Yeah, Uro would be more symmetrical. Yeah, it would be more symmetrical with Kroxa if it didn't have to put a land into the battlefield line of text. I don't know. Just like I'm going to be done ranting about this in a couple of hours. 1,000 years of ranting about Uro today. So bouncing the Spirit Mantle also makes the Daybreak Coronet fall off. For those of you who aren't aware how this works, Daybreak Coronet says enchant creature with another aura enchant attached to it, and so if you remove the only other attached aura, then the Coronet is no longer a legal enchantment and just falls off. Now we can Ice-Fang and block here. Or it would be more symmetrical with Kroxa if it costed blue-green on the front side. Ah, Canister with the 5 head takes. If there's anything to complain about Uro, it's that it's not good enough, honestly. You guys are just salty that I was smart enough to play blue and green cards in my deck. Stalker is cool. The only good Stalker is the invisible one, of course. Bad attack. opponent does have 6 cards in their hand, but we have 7. So I'd say we're slightly ahead here. A Seth Manfield tweet? I guess this card is pretty good right now. Hell yeah, Seth. I agree. I agree. I've been preaching it for a while. I've played against Seth Mansfield 2 or 3 times in paper. I really like playing against Seth. Really friendly guy too. I remember I was playing against Seth in a GP where I was playing Blue Red Storm and Seth was playing. I'm just gonna let this one go and let Teferi die. I was playing Blue Red Storm and Seth Mansfield was playing Burn, and we were in game 3, and Seth went. I think it was turn 1 Haste Creature into turn 2 Eidolon. Oh, I'm out of fetchable targets. And I played turn 2. Oh, they didn't attack Teferi either. Should probably pay more attention to the game. We all know that's not going to happen, I think, though. I played turn 2 Mana Creature, and then they went bolt my Mana Creature, play 2 more Haste Creatures, and put me down to like 6, I think. And then Seth was like, it kind of stinks. I kind of had the nuts. And I was like, well, I have outs. And I got to go Ritual, Lightning Bolt, go down to 2 life, and then play another mana creature. And then with 1 mana floating, my hand was Ritual, Manamorphose, Manamorphose, Manamorphose. And I just played face up, and I Manamorphose, Manamorphose, Manamorphose into 3 lands. But it was pretty cool to like just, I still have outs. It was a fun moment. It was a good sport too. I think this is how I sideboarded last time. Probably have some counter spells, but I'm just not going to bring in Veil, I think. I've not played any Historic since the ZNR Champs. Maybe I should apply for like a streamer account for release, and maybe I will in the future. But it's just like, for arena accounts, you either pay for your arena account with time or money. And like the amount of money it would cost to get an arena account, I don't think is worth it for me. And I also don't really want to devote the time to keeping an arena collection. Is this deck my brainchild? Yeah. This is something I put together probably like a month ago at this point, maybe 2. And yeah, probably 2 months at this point. And I got second place at 2 challenges with it. Yeah. Basically everything I stream are brews of mine right now. Or by right now I mean for like the last year and a half. And almost always are brews of my own design. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm not a streamer, I'm an MTGO user, I forgot. So that's probably why I won't get a streamer account then. I'm not a streamer. They're starting Kaladeem spoilers tomorrow. That's exciting. I really feel this is always like the long break in between sets, between the fall and spring one. I've been waiting for new cards, kind of itching. No, I'm no longer an e-boy. I thought I was. I wasn't. I'm actually just an MTGO user. Opponent kept a 1-land hand. Do they keep 7 cards? Their hand is probably great if they draw a land. They did keep 7, so their hand is probably like busted in half. Kind of have an interesting choice of like just bouncing their Hallowed Fountain in their upkeep, or we can try to bounce the Arcane Flight. I think I'm just gonna bounce the Fountain now, so I don't have to discard a card. Although they might have a Mystical Dispute. Yeah, we could just discard basic planes. Yeah, I've seen Soulstrong's variant. I don't agree with a lot of the changes he made, but I understand why he made them. And it's honestly like kind of a different deck that's like more in on the Time Warp combo with the Vials and the with the main deck files and the 3 main deck time warps. It's certainly interesting, his version. If we remand this, they have to discard a card. I think I'm just gonna do that. Now they don't have Dispute up. At what point do I say a deck is a brew and not a deck? I usually brew by looking at decks online and taking the best of them and putting some stuff I want. I mean, it's all kind of arbitrary and everybody's got different definitions. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter because nobody like owns deck lists. Gonna pass again. Yeah, nobody owns. I probably should have attacked actually. But I would say that if you're not like, I would probably define it. You know, if you're not actually changing the archetype at all, maybe it's not a new brew. Maybe an archetype isn't the right word to use. I don't know. It's kind of it's kind of hard to define, I think, like when a deck is a new brew. It's a good question. I probably should think more before opening my mouth, both in general and right now. If my opponent attacks, we get to bounce the ethereal armor and kill him. You know, there is a meme about, you know, like I copied a list and then I changed one card. This is my brew, right? And that's, you know, like that's something I see a lot. And but how, you know, it's there's kind of like there's an old like puzzle, right, where, and this is really not related at all, but it's kind of funny to think that it is, right? But there's so if a ship leaves England and then sails to India, and on the way to India, every single piece of the ship is replaced at a port during repairs, slowly, and every single crew member is replaced by a different crew member before it reaches India. And the question is it still the same ship or not? And it's basically exactly the same when it comes to MTG brews. And that's just something you've got to think for yourself. Did I play in larger paper tournaments when the world was open? Yes, I did. I even did well at some of them. Wow. I was probably supposed to force that, but I'll just bounce it instead. If you replace every card in a deck list by a different card, is it really the same deck list? Yeah, I think it is. Every deck is just Modern John, where you slowly replace every card with a different deck, or every card with a different card. When you replace the name, that's actually the. So if you want a deck to be your brew, just change the name of the deck. And of course, every deck name needs to be some like inside joke between you and your friends, or some goofy name that like only makes sense if you like really think about it instead of being just intuitive. I do think cool deck names are good, but you can't force them. They have to really come across naturally. Okay. If this is Reclaimer Titan, this is a bad matchup, but Amulet Titan's kind of okay. Yeah, I see you're playing MTGO user Spider Space's Bant Ephemerate control for 999 years. Yes. Do you I'm glad that you're in on the MTGO user meme, Spider. I hope that it picks up. Maybe I should get an MTGO user emote. I'll probably marinate on it for a few days, see if the joke is actually good. But I think this is going to be the real deal, a new joke to the stream. All right, so let's cast Wall of Omens this turn, and next turn we can go Ice-Fang plus Ephemerate. Check out my sweet deck. I call it Lotus Field Just Guy. This just became like try to find the card that got changed. Oh no, this is actually a link to my list. Okay, I thought that like one card was going to be changed. Well, Ancient Stirrings Resolve. So this is Amulet Titan, which is a much better matchup for us. And honestly, like, just maybe a worse deck than Reclaimer Titan at this point. Why didn't I fetch a Bant Triumph? Oh, what a mistake. I will say this. We've been talking about, like, maybe Uro should be banned today. If a Bant Triumph ever gets printed, there's no way Uro, I think, is going to be reasonable and modern, you know? It's like, as soon as the Bant Triumph gets printed, Uro can't exist in that format. Spike, for that Reclamation deck, can I try to make it Bant if possible? Yes. I will make a sticky note, reminding me to do so, because I am a very organized MTGO user. My opponent plays Amulet. It's probably good for us to force so they can't just go Bounce Land Titan next turn. But nice to not have to make decisions. But literally, when you place any single part of it, the ship is different. That's definitely a take. I agree, and that's also like does I think fit into like when does it become a brew conversation. But yeah, that's definitely a take on the question. Like, as soon as one piece changes, it's a different ship. And then it's also a take whenever the last piece changes, it's a different ship. More than 50%. When the name changes, it's kind of cool. I think I'm just going to discard Uro to hand size. Hold up Cryptic. Brew versus Shell, yeah. That's like also probably part of it. Is Bant really good in Modern? Kinda. Maybe I should have pitched Teferi. It's yes. Like, well, I should say that whenever I play a Bant deck, it really feels like the thing that it's missing the most from it is a Triumph. Like, compared to other color combinations. And Bant is like a very powerful shell. Really does feel like it's just missing that Triumph. Nice Bant Maverick Tempo deck, hell yeah. Okay, didn't draw a land to witness back Remand, but we just drew another Cryptic, and we'll take it. Could draw a card with this Cryptic, or could bounce Wall of Omens to draw a card. Both equally viable options, I think. I cast Cryptic Command, targeting Primeval Titan, as I mentally flash back to 2014, when this just happened constantly. Or maybe more like 2015, actually. Yeah, I'm trying to flash back. I'm having static. We already have a Bant Triumph. Seaside Citadel. Oh my gosh. Dude, and this even gets around Boyle? Citadel seems pretty busted. Say it, literally broken Magic card. Bant has had the best mana dork. That's true. That Bant gets the best mana dork. Too bad. Brendan 6 exists. My poor graveyard didn't deserve this. Opponent knows I have Remand. If they're just like, if their hand is just I have to jam Titan into Remand, it's good for us. That seems to be the case. Attack for 2, I guess. Our hand's kind of clogged up. Losing that Bajuka Bog was such a big deal. We can play a second Witness and get back Remand, which just feels a bit more mana efficient to me here. Isn't Vestige just a worse version of Aether Hub? No. No card is strictly better than another card. Every cards are just different, you know? It's less mana efficient because I'm choked on white. You're probably right, Canister. It's kind of an interesting conversation, like, is using 3 mana of a color that you have more access to, as opposed to, like, yeah, I guess when we have this many white cards, it is better to ephemerate. But also the thing about ephemerating here to get back Remand, you know, the ephemerate doesn't leave the hand. It's going to end up coming right back to it. Where, like, if we ephemerate Eternal Witness, get back Remand, cast Remand, and then ephemerate Witness, get back the ephemerate, then this is straight back in our hand, but at least with this way we have 2 more points of power if the beatdown plan can possibly commence. So we need to find our 3rd Cryptic or our Time Warp to win. So I actually think this was more mana efficient because it's just the same, but this way we end up with a 2-1 in play, which is good if we actually get to Remand the Titan again. All right, I'm gonna just draw a card digging for the Time Warp. I blinked the wall because yeah, I agree. With the 2nd ephemerate to dig towards lands. Oh, yeah. And if we just find Time Warp, the game ends, which we did not. Might bounce the Primeval Titan with Teferi this turn. Might just try to eat it with Ice-Fang instead. It's kind of close. Don't think holding up Remand is going to be very relevant. Might have been better to discard the 3rd Skyclave before the 2nd land, but I think that will... I don't think it's going to matter a ton either way, honestly. When they attack with Titan, they deal us 12, and then we Ice-Fang and block with Wall of Omens and Ice-Fang, and maybe a Witness if we want to save 1 more life. But I don't know if there's a huge difference between being at 2 and 1. I guess the fetch land is the big difference, so triple block. 12 minus... Or sorry, being at 3 or 2. Yeah, it's probably good to save 1 life with the Witness. Wait, they got Vesuva, not a 2nd Valakut, so that's a lot less damage. However, if they have lands in their hand, we are in bad shape. I think they've already played 1 land this turn, though. They are targeting a Witness with 1 Valakut and a Teferi with the other. Not dealing damage to me. Imagine if Opposition Agent wasn't Modern. It is legal in Modern. If Opposition Agent were 6 mana, I could see like maybe playing it in some decks. Dude, that's the Time Warp. That's a win if we get to untap. Because we have Mystic Sanctuary for the Ephemerate. Wrong agent? Oh, I'm thinking of Agent of Treachery. What is Opposition Agent? Oh, that's the black. You can't search your library card. Yeah, I was thinking of Agent of Treachery. Oh no, they killed my Witness. Damn it. And now with both Witnesses dead, we can't win. If we draw Uro into land and Time Warp, we can maybe, like, we'd also have to find the other Cryptic. Yeah, we probably should just concede. Fair enough. Oh, sorry. I actually want the paths. I think it's so hard to actually draw 2 Skyclave Apparitions. I found But I think I'll still keep 2. It's like you usually want to draw the first one, but like a lot of times you just have 2. If you have 2 Skyclaves rotting in your hand when you're holding up counter magic, that's definitely a way to lose. Yeah, the mana is too bad in this deck to play Field of Ruin. You need blue green, white white on 3, blue green on 3, blue blue green green. The mana's bad in this deck. One nice thing is Mistigate to be able to help cast Skyclave Apparition and also help basic planes cast Uro, and you need to play a decent number of basics too because you're an Ice-Fang deck. The mana works, but when you compare it to a lot of other mana bases, it's just not as smooth. But if a Bant Triumph ever gets printed, or if Seaside Citadel is secretly busted, the mana base gets better. Let's keep this. Time Warp is definitely one of the most important cards in the matchup. Like that is a big part of like your game plan in these matchups is just take infinite turns and ignore what they're doing with their Titans. Is this Soul deck? No. This is MTGO user Aspiring Spikes Brew. And Soulstrong, I believe Soulstrong started working on the list after we played each other in a challenge, but I may have history wrong. So I'm pretty sure we're going to Skyclave the Dryad, because they would need like Azusa or a Boreal Grazer to Titan us next turn. You think the Soul version is pretty strong? I believe that this is the better version, but I could be wrong. I'm not 100% sure it's good to get Temple Garden, but getting Temple Garden is nice if we miss a land drop, because we can Witness back a fetch. Has Aspiring Spike a meaning? Yeah, I just kind of want to be the best version of myself, the best Magic player I can be, you know. It also means that I'm an MTGO user. So they have 4 mana here. They need a way. They need a Grazer. Actually, doesn't let them Titan. Karn's pretty good though. If I know my opponent was on Karn, I would have played more Skyclaves. Yeah, I actually like. So this deck is a spiritual successor for sure to the old Eternal Command lists, but it's also like it started because I did play it. I played an Eternal Command list, a Yorion version before Zendikar Rising came out. That was kind of like this, and then Skyclave came out, was kind of a perfect card for this archetype, but it was good not to play Yorion, I think, in those versions, and it definitely had an evolution. I think I want to hold up Path for a Titan and Force for their Coding. You should assume Karn if they're playing Stirrings. I think that you are correct about that. Maybe just kind of a bit of an old mindset I have since, like, you know, I've played against this deck ever since Summer Bloom was legal, and you know, part of my brain is still just used to them always playing Ancient Stirrings. But you are right, if you see Stirrings you should probably just assume Karn at this point. Force is so bad versus Coding. I mean, I'll force it though. You're not wrong, but I think like it at least buys us a turn, and then if they minus the Karn again, we can attack both the Karn and kill the Karn. Yeah. So yeah, we're really happy to see them get haste land plus just mana, and if you know, super happy if they don't have a Valakut or Field of the Dead in their hand. We know one of their 3 cards is Coding. I believe they've already played both of their lands. Maybe they still have 1 land drop left actually. We'll find out, I suppose. They also have a Karn activation. But if they don't have Valakut or Field of the Dead in their hand, and they activate Karn, we can probably force or Cryptic anything that they get. They're going to plus Karn, which was not something I was expecting to see. Although maybe I should have been. They didn't have a land drop, it seems. Or if they did, they didn't have a land, and I should probably look. But I probably just won't. So we can Gust the Dryad, attack and kill Karn. If I felt like I was in a super bad spot, like maybe we could Uro and hope to hit a land into Gust. Well, if they're playing Slayer Stronghold, they probably don't have the other haste land in their deck, which is why they didn't get Valakut. But like, maybe just building your deck like this is incorrect. We'd also be we could also just Cryptic Command Dryad and attack. That also gives us a chance of hitting our land drop. Yeah, I think that we're just saying, I hope you don't have another Titan. And if you do have a Titan, hopefully it's one that we can Force of Negation, like a Pact or a Symbiosis. If I force, maybe I'm just pitching Uro, because then we can go Ice-Fang and Gust and just kind of dig for another Ephemerate to take infinite turns. Their hand is now Dryad, Liquid Metal Coating, Mystery card. If a Mystery card in there is a Primeval Titan, boy oh boy is it bad for us. The Dryad comes back down. Let me make sure that they put this on top. I actually didn't check. So many triggers. Oh, sorry. We bounced it with Cryptic, not Gust. Sorry. Had a brain blast.
Welcome, Spikelings, to the Shark Typhoon.
Back. Thank you for your Tier 1 subscription. Welcome back. Or welcome for the first time. Next month, I'll say welcome back. That's Ephemerate. I mean, you guys can read. So we will get back a land and hope to infinitely combo. And I have a hard time imagining our opponent's going to be able to interact with us or kill us because we have both Gust and Time Warp up. Am I going to chump block with Skyclave Apparition? Might just chump block with Ice-Fang. Okay, that was easy. They either decided they didn't want to attack or click through their attacker step. One of their cards is Cavern of Souls. There is a small part of me that suspects they don't actually have a Titan in their hand, though. You can tell here that they probably don't have a Titan because they would have 100% cast a Titan there if they had one. Did draw another land, or another, sorry, Ephemerate. Oh, but I already have both of my untapped white sources, or all three of my untapped white sources, rather, in play. So we're trying to win with chip damage and recurred warps. I mean, if you take infinite terms with time warp, like, it doesn't really matter too much. You're going to be able to win eventually with basically anything. But, this Ice-Fang wins, Uro will win. All of it wins. I've never seen a Titan opponent not have it as much as this opponent doesn't have it. I mean, they did Titan, and they would have won this game very easily if they were playing Valakut and Hanowar Battlements, but instead they're playing Slayer Stronghold, and so they had to get a land, they had to get the Crumbling Vestige instead of Valakut, which we would have easily lost to. Okay, so against Karn, I either want the fourth Skyclave. I could maybe see you playing Tails In. Tails In does counter Primeval Titans into the battlefield effect, but the problem is you still have to path the Titan, which is just not nearly as good of an answer as Aether Gust. We also have 3 Force of Negations. But I'll cut the Teferi Time Raveler, which isn't that good for the 4th Skyclave. This hand's good. Yeah, both Gust and Venser are 2 of our best cards, and Ice-Fang is kind of nice when you're holding up Gust. Tails In seems like it should be really good in EDH. It's kind of an interesting
Welcome, Spikelings, to the Shark
idea.
Type.
1UP TCG, thank you for your Twitch Prime subscription. I think you're probably right about that. Tails In being good in EDH. Between my Jeskai list, do I ever feel like my Lotus Field list is better than... Yes, I do feel it that way. Okay. Well, I guess I was supposed to Ice-Fang looking for Force of Negation. If I draw Force of Negation, I'm going to feel real bad. Fine. Fine. Although... So we can play an Eternal Witness and accept one of our lands getting killed by coding, but I'll probably just like force the coding. I mean, I'm not sure if I drew Force off of turn or Time Warp. I think it was off the... I think I drew it off the Ice-Fang and not for turn. Obviously doesn't really matter. Definitely made a mistake there, though. Yeah, Grazer actually is very good here. They can't Titan off of just this Grazer, though. They're 1 mana short. When will I bring us the Spicy Legacy Brew featuring Tails End? Maybe this Thursday. This Thursday. They can get the coding back, but obviously if they do that now, their card just dissipates. They bog my Force of Negation, which is fine. And they can chump block the Ice-Fang with the Grazer, but it is just a chump block after we play this Forest. Ephemerate was a really, really good draw. Hopefully we can just Venser this next turn. Can I play a Jeskai Nahiri deck for you? I have a Dono deck option where I will play, your spicy pet deck for $30, or I'll even build a deck for you for $40. And there's information about that here. Or if you leave a funny enough YouTube comment, maybe I'll just play. Maybe I'll just turn the Jeskai Lotus Field deck into a Grixis deck. But only if your YouTube comment is in fact funny enough. I think I'm going to Venser bounce the Dryad here. They shouldn't be able to replay it, and this also threatens the card pretty nicely. We'd have also maybe bounced a land they played off of the Dryad with Venser, and then like if they go bounce land, bounce the bounce land, and then the ETB trigger still happens, and then they only have 2 mana if they play the bounce land again, but that's probably not all that good. Yeah, there's no deck that hates fetch lands more than that Jeskai deck, and there's no Magic player probably who hates fetch lands more than I do. So I imagine we'll see our opponent cash in their Karn. Oh no, they don't. I feel like they should have cashed it in. I guess I'm a bit confused by this. So I'm not afraid of Pact of Negation. A Mystical Dispute could really throw a wrench in our plans if that's one of the cards they have. It doesn't really feel like it's really that much of a cost to play around a dispute here either. Maybe we could have just bounced both lands here, but I think it's going to be a bit better to like bounce a Dryad or Aether Gust to Titan. Okay, why don't we'll Aether Gust the Dryad, I suppose, because we can't. If we bounce it with Venser, they just get to replay it. They put it on the bottom. Dispute is definitely still a card they could have. It's not super likely. It felt like that card was common for like a little while and fell out of favor. Maybe I shouldn't be really even thinking about it. I need to hold this other Ephemerate. Maybe I don't. Yeah, I just have the Witness. Never mind. We'll just bounce all their permanents besides Karn. Send them back to the Stone Age. Does bounce the land in response to the untrap? That's something we thought about doing last turn. I don't think it was necessary. It's always kind of an interesting play. Opponent says not fun. Beg to disagree. GG's. So 3-2 into 4-1-4-1, a pretty respectable 11 and 4 on the day. Still really liking this deck a lot. I keep opening this full art Feldar and keep thinking it's Feldar Retreat. I still have not opened my full set.